Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for being here today, spending the next few minutes with me. My name is Oscar Garados, and over the past few months, I've been working on a project that's very close to my heart, AgroLogix. It's a simple mobile app designed for smallholder farmers in rural Colombia. And these are some of the people that grow the food we eat on 1 or 2 hectare plots, often with no reliable internet. They're low on resources, and so they have to work hard on their day-to-day schedule. And they have basic $50 phones. Many of them face middlemen who take 25 to 30% of their earnings, and very few places to ask other farmers for advice when things go wrong. So I wanted to build something that speaks their language literally and figuratively, something that works offline and puts more money in their pocket and food in their tables. So today I'm excited to walk you through a journey from the real problems we uncovered and the personas that guided us, the design decisions that we made, the prototype itself, and what the farmers told us when they tested it. So let's start the heart of the project where we have the people who we're designing for. So I think it starts all at the very beginning where we were discussing what kind of problems we're trying to solve around the world. And we were focused on trying to solve or at least combat world hunger. And so what this app is doing is currently helping farmers be more efficient. And right now, we are at the point of handing that prototype to the designers who are actually going to start to develop the actual code. And we're going to work with those people to make sure that we're meeting all the requirements of the users that are going to be using this app, including the secondary audiences, which are going to be the buyers. And that's the section of this project that's still going to be worked on. So we have prioritized farmers first, and then we're going to prioritize our secondary audience. That's a whole other vertical of this, and it hasn't been easy working with the audience, especially since we're in the United States and they're in Colombia. So I've been having to communicate via email and also other methods of social media. And so we're trying to figure that out. I really thought about the design process and how to make the most of it for this project. I really focused on following all the necessary steps, trying not to skip over major phases of the this cycle. The beginning it looked more like an agile, and then we moved to towards a more like a waterfall sort of waterfall method kind of design process, and then we went back to testing and iterating and testing and iterating in sort of the agile design method, which kind of helped us realize some of the issues that needed to be brought up. So our personas are something that I obviously looked guidance for. They guided me for several of these design decisions, and I try to make them representative of the majority of the smallholder farmers who sell regularly and feel the pain of middlemen most acutely, and some also who have family. Many of these have families with kids. Their needs are driving the marketplace. So direct sales is what they're trying to look for. And so with this application, we're trying to fill the gap of them and the consumer who's going to buy the produce, whether it be a restaurant owner, a store, or a vendor, whoever. And that involves the yield tracker. So the yield tracker is a proof of earnings. So with these personas, many of them do reflect that vision in forums as well. So they want quick advice, they want quick help from this application. So offline is also another big part of this. It's not something that's being looked over. So right now you're looking at an example of what a persona could look like for this project that is about farmers. We have Rodriguez here. Moving on to the feature list, you can expect to have features of this and also some sub features. We are revisiting some of these to make adjustments within the UI to make sure that we're not overlooking anything in terms of the flow, in terms of meeting the contrast and all this accessibility standards that we're adhered to, especially because of our what our personas are. We're dealing with folks who don't necessarily have, all the knowledge or the expertise of using a mobile phone. Many of them have very little experience. So just to going over the major ones: revenue streams. We have grants, sponsorships, farmers who are going to be earning more with their intermediaries. Key resources, so UX designers, experts, community facilitators, technology partners, NGOs, can go on and on. I'd like to bring your attention to the customer segments where we have as the secondary market, which is local buyers in rural and semi-urban areas. This is where we're trying to focus on the secondary audience, which is going to help the farmers within the marketplace. When we began conducting usability testing with our participants, the smallholder farmers who were in Colombia, I got in contact with them on Facebook and also some family members that I had. And so I was able to actually spend time reading over their responses and actually taking time to guide them through the 45-minute sessions and filling out the forms that were required. Our testers completed about 7 realistic tasks and things like adding a new field, listing crops for sale, browsing the forum, and recording a harvest. After each task, they answered a quick ease question, which was a 1 through 5 scale, and at the end we collected some of the feedback. There were some interesting things going on with our users' behavior, and a lot of that complaining and sort of frustration came from the fact that content was not able to be tailored, and I could not figure out how to make that happen. If we were looking at some of the testers in the comments, they were saying how good the navigation looked and the appeal, especially with the colors. Users were expecting to tap on the crop photo or the upload photo to field card edit. They were able to do that. The only thing is they are not actually at this point able to upload anything. Instead, they had to fill the pencil or kind of get a feel of the edit icon, click on that, use it. And what that tells me is we need to be got to be more clear on our testing sessions when we're asking these questions to our users. And here we have more of that sort of information and feedback from those users who were trying to go through the navigations and completing certain tasks. In terms of biggest pain points and what was most difficult for our users was actually filling out forms and the actual inability, not being able to complete a task just because of my own imperfection of not framing the questions correctly or not being as clear as I should have when conducting these testing sessions. In summary, the marketplace and yield tracker were the strongest performers. I really tried to make sure I was meeting these standards of offline first, large touch targets, contrast, one app, two-sided market, especially for those audiences, which they will not need to download a separate app. Buyers will just download the same app. They're gonna have to log in and sign up as a buyer instead of a farmer. There were definitely some prominent changes that I was mentioning earlier, like talking about, what needs to be changed to make this app actually functional for the target group. And fortunately, as I was going through this, I got the opportunity to go to Colombia and actually meet with some of these people who were actual farmers and who had actual crops, and they gave me the first-hand experience of what they actually like to do. What are their favorite, routines? What's their go-to method, of growing, a new crop if they're trying out something new. Turns out video tutorials and satellite imagery is something we're going to move into a later version of this app just because we simply it's not as necessary as the yield tracker or the forum community forums because farmers will always have some other medium to get their information via social media, Facebook or YouTube, to get their information that they're looking for. What this is doing is simply making this app more sustainable by making the yield tracker the main attraction of this app. And that's what's going to keep people coming back to it, as well as the marketplace, which will allow farmers to continue to push out their produce and sell it to people. And this is going to be what makes the app an actual success. So I started with a much broader vision, but made the deliberate research driven decision to narrow scope to four core testable features, which are the marketplace, community forums, the yield tracker, and we also have yield management, which allows farmers to manage their yield, manage their fields. And overall, that focus, I think, allowed me to create something realistic, something that can be usable, something that is truly aligned with the real constraints of smallholder farmers in rural Colombia. Doing this project overall was an absolute incredible experience, and I started, a few months ago. And I initially tried to include too many nice to have ideas, satellite alerts, in-app voice, rich tutorials, and which diluted focus and I think made prototyping slower overall. But we learned balancing accessibility without voice, I think removing voice narration and designing for zero typing, ensuring every input could be a crop selection or quantity, field, etc., is achievable, but does require a lot more research and more work to do that for a particular audience that is looking for that. For the next steps as we move towards production, polish, we're gonna focus on the pain points from testing, make entire field cards tappable, and just go through all the icons, labels, adding guest profile switching. We also have an option for switching the language to the English from English to Spanish, which is in the user's profile. In short, AgroLogix went from an ambitious idea to focus, testable prototype that already solves real pain points for some farmers. The next phase is turning this validated foundation into a live app that can actually reach more small holders across Colombia. So with that, I want to thank you. I'm excited to keep pushing this forward, and I'm really grateful to have been able to be a part of this and experience this